My name is Christine Cole. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Boise, Idaho. By trade, I'm a financial analyst, but by survival, I've been the responsible one all my life. If you've ever grown up being the invisible backbone of a family, you'll understand what I mean. Responsibility wasn't a compliment in my house. It was a sentence. I was born in Idaho Falls, the oldest child of Mark and Linda Cole. My parents weren't cruel in the obvious ways. Their favoritism was subtle, almost polite. My younger brother, Alex, 3 years my junior, was the golden boy. He got trophies for sports, applause for charm, and endless second chances when he stumbled. I, on the other hand, was praised for handling things. My worth wasn't measured in laughter or hugs, but in how much weight I could carry without complaint. I remember being 14 and overhearing my parents whisper at the kitchen table, "Christine will handle it." My mother said, her voice calm, as if I were an adult with a steady job instead of a teenager trying to finish her math homework. That was the night I started saving my allowance, not for fun or for myself, but because I believed I had to be the safety net. That belief followed me into adulthood like a shadow I couldn't outrun. Holidays were always the same. Alex basked in attention while I received a quick hug, a distracted smile, and questions about grades or chores. My father told his corny jokes. My mother baked her pies, but the warmth was rationed uneven. Looking back, I realize I wasn't treated like a daughter as much as I was a long-term insurance policy. Fast forward to my adult years, I built a life in Boise brick by brick. A modest apartment with hardwood floors and city lights that glow against my windows at night. It isn't grand, but it's earned through long hours, skipped vacations, and relentless discipline. My career in finance gave me stability, and stability gave me freedom. Through careful investments, I built savings of nearly $700,000. Every cent was a piece of independence carved out of the loneliness I'd carried since childhood. Yet, no matter how far I built my life, a single text from my mother could unravel me. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving it came, "Come home, we miss you." The words hit like a tug on an old scar. My best friend, Sarah, a teacher with a soft voice but sharp insight, didn't hesitate. "Christine," she said, "they only call when they want something. Don't fall for it." I laughed it off at the time, but her words lingered. Still, hope has a way of disguising itself as courage. I wanted the kitchen light, the smell of apple pie, and yes, even my dad's grown, worthy jokes. I packed a scarf for Mom, a bottle of wine for Dad, and drove the long road back to Idaho Falls. I told myself I was going home to love. But deep down, I knew I was driving into a test of everything I had ever carried. The moment I stepped into my parents' house, the familiar scent of roasted turkey and cinnamon spice hit me. For a second, I almost believed I was back in childhood, walking into warmth. But the illusion cracked quickly. My mother's smile was tight, as though she had rehearsed it in the mirror. My father gave me one of his quick side hugs, already distracted by the football game echoing from the living room. And then there was Alex, leaning against the counter, wearing that effortless grin that had earned him second chances his whole life. "Christine," he said, stretching my name into a performance. "Look who finally made it." His arms opened for a hug, but his tone carried a smirk. Dinner began with polite conversation, the clinking of silver, filling the gaps where warmth should have been. My mother asked about my job, nodding absent-mindedly before steering the talk toward Alex's big plans. Apparently, he had a new business idea, a phrase I'd heard too many times before, usually followed by bankruptcy or unpaid loans. I sipped my wine slowly, watching the pattern play out like a well-worn script. Dad chimed in about how proud he was that Alex was finally taking charge of his future. No one asked about my promotion last month, or the fact that I had closed one of the largest accounts in my firm's history. Instead, Alex was the hero of a story he hadn't even started writing. Then the questions shifted. My mother, with a sweetness that always felt just slightly rehearsed, leaned forward. "Christine, dear, you've done so well for yourself. It must be freeing having that kind of security." I knew what was coming. I felt it in the pause that followed, in the way Alex lowered his gaze just enough to look humble. Dad cleared his throat. Your brother's idea just needs a little push, a small investment to get things off the ground. There it was. The ask wrapped in the disguise of family pride. I put down my fork, the sound sharper than I intended. You're asking me to fund Alex's project. Alex jumped in before Dad could answer. Not fund, Christine, just help. You've always been the one who keeps us together, and besides, what's a few thousand to you? The table fell silent. My heart pounded, not from surprise, but from the sheer predictability of it all. My mother tried to soften the moment, her voice a hush. We thought you'd understand. Family helps family. Sarah's warning echoed in my mind. They only call when they want something. She had been right. I stared at the faces around the table. The parents who had raised me to believe my worth was in sacrifice, and the brother who had perfected the art of taking. I forced a smile, though it felt heavy on my lips. "Why don't we eat first?" I said quietly. "We can talk business later." The turkey tasted dry that night, though everyone else seemed to chew it just fine. After dinner, Mom insisted on coffee in the living room. The lights were dimmed low, the fire crackled in the hearth, and for a brief moment I almost let myself believe the tension would pass. Maybe we'd share old stories, maybe Dad would fall asleep in his recliner, and maybe Alex would be too tired to press me for money. But then he appeared, carrying a small velvet box in his hand. He placed it carefully on the coffee table between us, like it was an offering. My stomach sank. "What's this?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. Alex smiled, that practiced mix of humility and charm. "It's the prototype, the future, a sample of what I'm building." He flipped the lid open, revealing a cheap-looking bracelet that gleamed under the firelight. "Custom jewelry, handmade, limited edition. This one's just the beginning." I blinked at it, then at him. "You want me to invest in bracelets?" He leaned forward eagerly. "Not just bracelets, a whole brand, a lifestyle. With the right funding, I can scale this into something big. I've done the math, Christine. I just need your help to start." Dad coughed as though to lend gravity to Alex's pitch. "Your brother has vision. He just needs a chance. You can give him that." And then Mom added softly, "We were hoping you'd see it as a family gift for all of us." There it was, the weight of years pressing down on me. Not just the ask, but the expectation. The assumption that my success was never mine alone, that it was always meant to be siphoned off to cover Alex's mistakes, to keep the family's fragile balance intact. I stared at the bracelet, my chest tight. It looked cheap, fragile, destined to break, and maybe that was the point. It was Alex's dream in miniature, shiny on the outside, hollow beneath. Something inside me cracked. "Do you hear yourselves?" My voice shook, louder than I intended. "Every time I come home, it's the same thing. I'm not your daughter, I'm your safety net. You never ask how I am, never celebrate what I've built. You just wait for me to bail Alex out again and again." The silence was deafening. Alex's smile faltered, Dad's jaw tightened, Mom's eyes watered as if I were the one breaking her heart. "You think this is about money?" I continued, my voice steadier now. "But it's not. It's about the fact that I don't matter to you unless I'm paying for something. I've spent my entire life carrying this family, and I'm done. I won't do it anymore." Alex opened his mouth, maybe to charm, maybe to beg, but I held up my hand. "No, don't. This box, this plan, this whole setup. It's not my responsibility, not anymore." I stood, the firelight casting long shadows around us. My legs shook, but for the first time, it wasn't from fear. It was from release. The velvet box snapped shut with a soft click, echoing like the closing of a door I should have walked through years ago. I drove back to Boise the next morning, the sun barely rising over the frosted fields. My car was quiet except for the steady hum of the tires on the highway. No radio, no podcasts, just silence. But it wasn't the suffocating silence I had known in my parents' house. It was spacious, almost freeing, like my own thoughts finally had room to breathe. The image of that velvet box lingered in my mind. It wasn't just a trinket. It was a symbol of everything I had been carrying for years. My family had wrapped me in expectation the way velvet wraps cheap metal, soft enough to disguise it, but not enough to change what it really was. For so long, I believed love meant sacrifice, that being the responsible one was my role, my fate. But standing in that living room, I realized something that shook me. Love without respect isn't love at all, it's exploitation. Back in my apartment, I placed my suitcase by the door and sank into the couch. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty for leaving early, for saying no, for refusing to fund Alex's latest dream. Instead, I felt strong. My boundaries, shaky at first, had held firm. And with that firmness came a revelation. I am not selfish for protecting what I've built. I am not cruel for demanding respect. I am simply human, worthy of the same care I have given others. Sarah came over that evening, carrying takeout and her warm, knowing smile. As we ate noodles straight from the carton, I told her everything. The dinner, the velvet box, the breaking point. She listened without interrupting, only nodding when I faltered. When I finished, she set down her fork and said, "Christine, you finally stopped auditioning for their approval. That's what freedom looks like." Her words struck me harder than I expected. She was right. For years I had been performing, trying to earn a kind of love that was never offered freely. But now I understood. I don't have to keep performing. I don't have to prove my worth. I don't know what the future with my family will look like. Maybe distance will grow, maybe conversations will be fewer, maybe holidays will feel lonelier. But what I do know is this: I will not let guilt be the currency of our relationship anymore. If they want me in their lives, it will have to be on terms that honor who I am, not just what I can provide. And so here's the lesson I carry forward, one I hope others can take too. Kindness without boundaries becomes a cage. Love without respect becomes a burden. True strength is not in how much you can endure for others, but in knowing when to stand for yourself. The velvet box sits in my memory like a closed chapter, not a symbol of failure, but of clarity. A reminder that saying no can sometimes be the most loving thing you ever do for yourself, and even for the people who never understood you.